There she is.
Hi, how are you?
Isabel.
Oh, you're being a helpful assistant. So cute.
Hey there.
All right.
Okay, folks, it's 4 o'clock and we have a quorum. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Thank you for showing up. This is our January 9th BPAC meeting. Happy New Year, everyone. I will call roll. Mike Cruz is here. Sandra Lebarsky.
Here.
Anthony Garcia. Claire Johnson. Matt McGrath.
Here.
Chris Darrow.
Here.
And Tina Zecker.
Here.
Thank you. Upcoming events, gentle reminder to look at Flagstaff 365. I personally never go to the website. I just use their email. If you're not getting their email, it's a really easy way to just constantly be reminded to check it. So get on their email distribution list if you aren't already. Public participation. Do we have any public participation?
I did not receive any public comments.
Okay.
Nor did I, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So moving forward, we are at approval of minutes. Did everybody have an opportunity to look at the minutes of the December meeting? Any questions or comments about the December meeting discussion? If there are none, can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the December meeting as presented?
So.
Thank you. May I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve the December 2022 BPAC meeting minutes as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Announcements, staff.
All right. Well, first I will note that Commissioner Johnson has joined us.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi.
So this announcement even has a little bit of an update. We did hold in December the interviews for the Arts Collection and Beautification Coordinator. A provisional offer was made and accepted. But since then, the background checks were all completed. A final offer was made and accepted. And
Congratulations.
Kristen Kudo will be starting on January 23rd. So in 2 weeks from today. I will let her introduce herself more, but just to let you know, she's quite a seasoned art administrator already. She actually, while working at the Museum of Northern Arizona, coordinated the bus shelter featuring that Navajo Weaver design of Melissa Cody. She also did a lot of work for the West Valley Art Council's, what they call Gallery 37. And so she did a lot of maintenance and conserving of public art installations there, which is, is kind of a key for this position. So we really look forward. We had an incredible batch of interviewees. And I think we walked out saying it was a really tough decision. And it came down to razor thin reasons. And it was, I know everybody else in the city's had trouble with their recruitments, but we had three people easily we could have hired. So.
Can you please, just for the minutes, note who was on the hiring committee?
Okay, so on the hiring committee was Chair Cruz, myself, and the the Community Investment Director, Dave McIntyre, and then the Director of Parks, Events, and Open Spaces, Amy Hagan.
Great, thank you.
Her title just changed, so forgive me.
And the second announcement, I assume that's you?
Yes.
The request for proposals for the traffic signal cabinets Art Wraps Phase 3 is now live. Social media, newsletters, it's on every channel. And we already have almost 30 people who are signed up for the pre-application meeting. And we're very elated at the response so far.
Yes, very excited. And can you remind me when that is, that meeting?
So the pre-application meeting is January 25th from 12 to 1:30.
Okay, so it's about a week before the deadline. So people come with those last minute questions to
Yes.
clear up.
So folks, if you can please share that to your social media sites and your personal and professional networks, that would be wonderful. It'd be great to have a robust pool of applicants for that. Any announcements from commissioners? The Flagstaff Symphony Orchestra has their January concert on Friday, the 20th. I will mention that. They perform, just trying to think of that P word, perform at Ardrey Auditorium. Sorry. I was gonna say they play, but that didn't sound quite professional enough. So that's on Friday night at Ardrey Auditorium. I think the show starts at 7.
You know, I have a ticket for the April show. I'm looking forward to it.
Good. I will actually say, if anybody's interested in tickets, I can get you comp tickets since I'm on the board. I can do that.
Yeah.
If you've ever been curious, go to the website and find the calendar and see if the concert fits into your schedule and let me know and I can get you 2 tickets.
Certainly.
Action items, it looks like there are none. So we're going to move forward to discussion items. And first on the agenda is a library entry update.
Okay, I'm gonna begin and then Susan Hardiman is going to take over. First of all, let the record reflect that Commissioner Garcia has now joined us as well. But I just wanted to tell you that, as you can probably visually see, the library entry is not done yet. The concrete subcontractor has been by services, he's been paid for his services to date, and they had to find a new concrete subcontractor. And we do have to redo some of the concrete work that was done. Yeah, it's been a struggle, and it's the main reason why the project is behind. But, you know, we're going for it. I think you saw from the, you know, image I sent, you know, the colors are starting to really all look great. I think it was in one of the weekly reports. So they got the color right. They just, yeah, there was just defects, you know, during this. So, but some of the artwork is being installed today, actually probably right now. I'll go take a look at it tomorrow afternoon, but you probably really won't be able to see it because they're going to wrap it in foam and everything to protect it while they're still unfortunately working around it. Our best guess is that we're going to be finished around February 23rd. Now that is all the hardscape. The landscape obviously won't go in until late March, early April. So just think that it will probably be the second half of April that we'll be doing a grand opening. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Susan.
And I just want to clarify, are we still doing the soft opening in April and the hard opening?
No, there were, no, there, no.
Okay, I apologize. I'm a little behind.
Yeah, no, it's the, we're only, there may be a small, something with, council right when they open the library, but there's really only one big event being
Okay.
planned.
Okay.
That's gonna be April.
Thanks. Well, we are working to initiate a temporary art program for that renovated library entry. And right now we're working with the interim library director, Richard Tutwiler. Did I say his name right?
Yes.
And we presented some ideas and he's very intrigued. We're gonna do some further discussions about how to proceed. But this is the presentation that we had.
And just to make clear, this is something for the library to continue, but we said we would do a temporary project for the grand opening and possibly for when the Art X Festival is going on Memorial Day weekend, because it was an inexpensive way for us to participate in the festival.
Yeah, thank you. So, whoops, I wanted to go this way. So this art is intentional to celebrate events, mark seasons, and causes that the library chooses to elevate. They can be periodically changed as often as the library sees fit. They can be artist-led and student creations, but it's all a way to enhance, engage, and immerse the library patrons and community. Whoops, I keep pressing twice, I apologize. One of the ideas we floated was yarn bombing, which I'm sure you're probably all familiar with, where the structure can be decorated with yarn to create whimsy and charming effects, or it can be for causes or seasons or anything, like I said, that the library wants to celebrate. These can be social media events that help bring more patrons to the library, and it's just a nice way to add some color and some whimsy. Oops, it went like twice again. Another example we presented was pinwheel art that could be woven into the fence, could be on the new pavement. It could be all immersive, create a cohesive look, but this is something that can be easily achieved. And again, bring color and whimsy and mark or celebrate a special occasion.
It might also be a nice placeholder where we wait for the landscaping to fill in.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Another example we had was to use removable decals on the furniture and maybe at the book cart for donors to put names of donors to the library. A way to kind of have some fun and engage the patrons again. And all of these can be changed out, and ideally, like Jana said, we're trying to give the empowerment to the library to take this on. We're there to help initialize it and get some things going, but it's really up to them what they would like to do going forward.
So we're basically hoping to just like kind of pay for the materials or whatever support they need for these first two projects. But we're working on having them lead it. They have some very creative people over there as well. As you know, they design their own exhibition spaces within the library. They have a lot of community classes already, so we feel like that they're their best design. But it doesn't mean that an outside group can't also come in and ask to use this kind of fence that we have going up along the guardrail, which is kind of the primary location for pinwheel art or other things.
It's a blank canvas.
Yes,
It's there to
it
be
is.
used. So that's basically short and simple.
What kind of budget do you think that they need for this, or that we need?
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna be asking for anything outrageous. I'm saying this is, maybe, under $3,000, a project kind of support. I have that in our future projects line item. And so I don't have, we've used up all the library money per se, but I can take it out of that.
I actually love the look, the library and what it means to the community. And I'd like us to consider actually, if this is possible, if you agree, a fund for this, an ongoing line item or budget item for the library to be able to do, and maybe other city, institutions, establishments to do something like that.
I think it's a great idea. We'll talk to the library about, if, I suspect they would need it because I know that their budgets are pretty tight. But we'll certainly get them started with these first two and then we'll go from there. But that's certainly possible. We don't have a funding issue with it.
Any questions?
Folks on the call, you have any comments about the presentation?
I think it's a great idea. That's it.
Thank you.
No questions. Thank you.
I was wondering, where did these ideas come from? Did you take them from like a template that was already designed from another location, another city, and municipality?
These came from a brainstorming session with the former director of the library and actually with the former program manager. So they've been ideas that have been tossed around since the beginning of the project. I think we didn't know what the temporary art space was going to be, so we had more, and we kind of, narrowed down the list just a little bit, to fit, the fence and the landscaping area potentially, which we know needs to be filled in. It's going to be newly planted. This kind of ideas. We had a school that had outreach to us at one point about doing a project. And they wanted to do kind of the art words on the table. So we've kind of let the decal idea kind of take that on because it could be words, it could be spoken words that we can put. If you remember, there's going to be this whole front porch and we're going to have furniture. So we're going to have this whole outdoor seating area. And if we originally talked about, if you remember, putting words in the cement, and then that kind of went into a spoken word project to a school. That teacher has since left. And so, but it's something that can come back. I mean, the idea was, we don't want to be programming it other than the kind of give ideas for the first two. We want the community to start programming it. And yes, if we could have a supply fund that they can draw from, great. But, we're hoping other people see this as a spot, come with their own ideas. We don't really want to keep directing it.
Well, I love that, the people that manage the space are coming up with the ideas because couldn't imagine staff just continue coming up with such great ideas. Stop amazing me, but anyways, thank you guys for the hard work. I mean, you guys are in there, and when things come up, you guys persevered and work around it and keeping everyone on task, and I think it's great.
Did you, so kind of, just kind of answered it already, but so the library is willing to take on the task of finding community partners or people within the community who want to do this, and if they, or did you get any indication that they might be involved in getting the art up when there aren't people interested, or is there gonna be a formal application process? If you have any sense of that, I just want to make sure, kind of to the same vein of Commissioner Garcia, that somehow it doesn't fall back on your plate as another thing to do.
We're definitely clear that we're providing the space, and the creation to do it. And it is theirs to, take over. I would say that, and Susan, you were in the meeting as well. The sense was that the interim librarian was very interested in doing it. He did concede that, of course, their staff is, but he had staff that were specifically interested in this type of idea. Now, in a year from now, we see that, nothing has happened. Maybe we brainstorm, invitations to other groups, but again, other groups coming in and doing it instead of us making a full program or putting out an RFP. We don't really have the capacity to take that on long term. It's a lovely concert. Any artwork on it.
And it is temporary. So.
Yeah, yeah. So, but now, of course, there is a new director. There's a new library director who's just been hired, and maybe that new director will feel differently.
Yeah.
So we'll keep the ball rolling. We're kicking off, but we're
Do you have any comments, Chris? I like the color. I think it was lovely. The thing with the yarn bombing, I thought about like weather, right? And rain. And I also thought that of the pinwheel art, unless you use something that's coated, and you certainly don't want to like, probably use a bunch of plastic unless it's, I don't know, recycled, but that probably would be. And then the decals, for me, like seeing a bunch of decals, like sometimes I see them on telephone poles and I just think it looks like sort of trash graffiti. So I would, if you say you're gonna put it on the floor, if it's like on the floor and then polyurethane and then they're protected, or, I mean, you know what I mean? So those are just my general comments of seeing like the three of them. The yarn, I thought rain, especially if we have a wet summer like we did this last one. And then the pinwheel, I thought also about the rain. But how do you use a material that's not plastic? If it's just paper.
Yeah.
And then the decals, I thought,
It might not be decals, like I said, it could even be like just spoken word vinyl, like a vinyl wrap. Certainly the donor books are gonna be a much more permanent kind of vinyl application. The other thing is like, for like Art X, which is gonna be held over 3 days. If we get good weather, maybe that would be a good opportunity for the yarn bombing. It actually is only supposed to be there for 3 days, and then it's supposed to disappear. So, we can keep those things in mind. And, temporary is, as you know, sometimes 3 days and sometimes it's 2 years.
I'm not in on that joke, but that's.
Yeah. It's a debate.
Okay.
any other questions or comments, folks?
As you were talking, but I had the same thoughts about the weather, but I'm also thinking if we are doing like a yarn bomb for 3 days, it'd be cool too if there could be some use of the yarn that's, being put to use to make something for a shelter or something. I don't know, so that we're considering the conservation piece of it as well as we're putting those temporary things out.
Maybe that nonprofit thread Thread Together? Yeah, because they do, I know they do sewing, but they also do knitting and crochet, right? Yeah,
There you go.
yeah, they do some really neat work. So maybe we could donate to them afterwards or whatever.
And
some
wheels
kind
or
of-
going to the children's center or something, I don't know. Just finding other ways to use the temporary materials as opposed to just.
It's an interesting, isn't Thread Together one of the recipients of, I believe they're recipients of operating
They do
grants
Creative
for Creative Flagstaff, so that would really actually tie in really well with Art X. I'm starting to see some synergy here.
It comes together well.
I'm in stitches now.
There we go. More fun.
It can get worse.
The work plan update.
Okay, so now we need to pull up that work plan. As the second quarter finished, it didn't change quite as much. Between the start of the fiscal year, I think 3 months ago, we had quite a number of changes. All right, this
Actually, that won't work, but
okay, this
it's
is
not
gonna
that
work.
far. Yeah, but
Yeah.
that-
Let's see if I can get it. I don't think I have it on the down thing anymore. Let's see, there we go.
Very jittery.
Oh. I don't know.
What would you like to do?
Can I do it here? Great. Let's get out of there, thank you. Why is it doing that? Cancel. All right, let's see if I can start to scroll down. There we go. All right. So as you know, we started with about 18, no, 20 projects here. We been adding, not subtracting. Although I want to point out to you, number 19, it's all in green. One has actually done and dropped off. So I think here, what I would like to say that just the big changes overall is that, and I'll talk to it a little bit more in the detail, but, we're still on track, to finish the Aspen Library. We're still on track, even though with the problems I'm going to tell you about with the Coconino scroll, we're still on track to complete those. And the Aspen niche is actually kicking off, which is very exciting. So we are making, just some progress. I just kind of wanted to, go over that. The number 17, they're at 66. I don't know if you've been on there. The monuments are being built and going up. So really, we have a lot more activity than, perhaps this street shows. The recruitment and onboarding and new staff. Well, the recruitment is done. The onboarding is not complete yet, but we are really, again, making a lot of progress. I think the new thing I added was the photography of the artworks, which I discussed in our retreat. And that kind of goes with the completion of number 16, the public art map update. So let's see, getting into
Number 11,
11. Let's see, what is number?
Flagstaff.
Oh, yeah, last time we already made this switch. We decided that we were going to do the Schweitzer Canyon roundabout first, rather than the 4th Street and Lockett roundabout is a substitution. And that's because they didn't get the property purchased for 4th Street, so it's delayed a whole extra year. And Schweitzer Canyon, of course, as you know, is complete and was ready to go. And we decided we did not want to wait and make 4th Street and Lockett our first one. So that was a discussion we had it.
Did you just accidentally miss 23 or did you move it somewhere?
Oh, I think I just missed 23.
Okay.
It's the
Yeah.
ghost.
I probably did take something out that maybe I was gonna put in there and then I forgot that I took it out. So anyway, I've already given you this update. So you're all good. We got the temporary art, the beautification and action grants are coming along. We just paid the first invoice to, Flagstaff High School District, hoping that once they got their teachers together and their plan together to have them back to show you exactly, more what they're doing. And like I said, this is very exciting. We have got the scope of work completed. We have decided not to put it out for an open procurement, but to use 11 construction on a job on contract. That saved us some time. And we have had that scope of work looked at by a number of different peoples, but most importantly, the last link was CenturyLink, and they signed off on it. And so hopefully we will be negotiating that scope of work contract with Lovin, and we will be kicking this project off, and it will be Susan's project. Yay. And there's a lot of community outreach that has to be done, not kind of an open, but with the, the main players in the area, the Orpheum Theater, the Pay Intake, CenturyLink, the Downtown Business Association, key city groups that work in our expanded right of way. There'll be a huge constituency, but you know, we're really looking forward to beautifying this area and hopefully,
It's been a long time coming.
yes,
So,
but
Nice.
because of all the outreach and the different approvals and different committees, it's going to have to go through, including BPAC, of course. We are probably, it is probably not going to go into construction this year, probably will be late next spring that it'll be finished. So even though we'll make progress, I don't think we're gonna finish it this year. That's not that's not what they're anticipating. So, so the medallions and the sidewalk need to be ripped out and redone. I am in the process. I know. That this concrete work is just, it's just not the quality we expected, and we are going to redo it. There has been a request from upper management for bigger medallions, actually, since we have to rip them out anyway. And I am looking at budget, and I think we can do that and follow through. And which means that once we get the original medallions back, I'm going to be looking for a display for them. I was thinking of the visitor center, but that's probably something I will take up with you guys more specifically in a later BPAC meeting. But right now we're working with procurement on getting a better concrete sub to do this work properly.
It wasn't the same person that did both sides, was it? The
No.
airport and the library.
I don't, well, you know what? I don't know exactly who the sub was. I know who the contractor was, and I don't know who the sub was. It might have been. But I don't know for sure, because I didn't ever check out the name of the sub. But there was it just, you know, the margins around the pieces are bad. They're crumbling, and it just doesn't look good. It doesn't look like, you know, like a plaque nicely laid in a sidewalk. And so we just have to get it redone. And I think we were resisting to see if there was a way to fix it, and it just isn't. So.
I will say Eagle Mountain was the contractor at the airport. They have a great reputation. They've done a lot of wonderful projects with the city before. So it is unfortunate they're going to try to work with Janet to figure out how to make it right, even though it's not technically.
Right. We haven't had that, you know, face-to-face meeting yet. We've just been working with procurement about how best to get this work done. And it was decided that, you know, we should go back and then impress upon them all the requirements so that hopefully they hire a better sub. And that's what we're gonna do.
The
So,
brochure that, that's already out then?
no, only the medallions are in. The fence is scheduled to go in April.
Oh, no, I'm asking about the brochure.
Oh, the brochure. Oh,
Do you want me to go grab some?
yeah, would you go grab some off my desk?
Okay.
Oh, yes, please, get one for everybody. Yes, I meant to bring those. Thank you. Yes. They are finished, it's like now it's a brochure waiting for a project. We even have a little banner over where they're to be displayed at the airport, designed and made. And we've just been waiting for the art project. I will tell you, Heidi Hansen's been of great support and, you know, and directing Discover Flagstaff to do this design work for us. And Jennifer Shaber worked with the artist on the brochure. And so it's come out great. And while we're waiting for that, I'll keep going. So I'm hoping we'll have that grand opening in May. It does feel like the project that won't end. Okay.
Pass them around.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Zucker served with me on the project grant cycle with Creative Flagstaff, and I have to say, we got some really cool projects funded, including a film projector for theatricals, fully funded.
and so they can show art house films from the Sedona Film Festival. I'm very
Oh,
excited
that
about that one. But we are going to have Jonathan Stone of Creative Flagstaff come maybe in March, and present all the cool projects that were funded by our program. So I think that's really exciting. So that work continues. Creative Flagstaff, you know, the Art Festival idea is moving ahead. They have hired a festival director. Her name is Julie Silkel. I'm meeting with her on Friday. Pretty excited. It was part of the hiring committee. I think they chose somebody who, you know, really has a strong, you know, background to do this. She comes from the hospitality industry, but then coordinating big events and conferences is really, you know, part of her bailiwick. And yeah, so the other thing is I turned Creative Flagstaff onto the Bloomberg grants, and not for the pilot, but for the next year. The deadline is in February, and the city is going to partner with them in an application for the Bloomberg grant. It's up to $1 million, and we do seem to fit the criteria very well. So, fingers crossed. Yeah, so.
Last time I checked,
Wonderful.
we had about 15 applicants for the grants for the ArtX Festival.
Yes.
With a whole bunch more that just hadn't come in yet. The deadline's not for a little while.
Yep.
And then a whole bunch more participants, cultural organizations participating who aren't grant recipients, but are just participating. So it'll be a solid pilot to get us going for the following year.
Yeah, so yeah, the call is out. You know, we got applicants. I think it's in 2 weeks that you know, we're going to be looking at those projects and figuring out which ones will go forward. So yeah, there's lots of activity going on. You know, really exciting. Now, what is this? This is a blank page. Did this not load fully?
There gets the Wi-Fi.
I did not look at every single page.
Okay. Well,
Let me see it.
what's this down here? This looks like the rest of it condensed somehow. Maybe it didn't.
Oh, that's bizarre.
That's strange. Okay, well, I'm just gonna have to talk through it. Sorry, you guys lose your pretty pictures.
Well, actually, seems like it's working on mine, so I can just plug mine in.
Or you can share, or, oh, if you're not in the meeting,
No, I was just gonna plug it in.
please.
We show it on email, so no distractions.
Yeah,
Sure.
in your email?
It's great.
Yes, you guys can, do you like it?
I'm excited to read all the little things. I know, it's very fascinating.
I would love for city council to get this as well.
Yeah, so any projects you have specific questions about that, you know, don't hesitate to ask. So again, as you can see, I didn't update our plan as far as the first images that we used from the beginning of the year, but you know, the designs have somewhat changed. But the main thing for you to know is that, you know, we are going forward after your approvals. We're putting this on a council work session on January 31st. And that is really probably when council is going to give most of their comments about the artwork itself. And we're hoping that February 21st will be the actual approval of the contract, you know, but that'll be a little bit more pro forma because we'll have everything already worked out from the 31st. But we will send you those specific council dates. But that will be for both the you know, the art glass as well as the Grove. The other aspects, the interpretive plaque project probably, you know, is just going to launch as soon as historical preservation and we have staff to dedicate to it. I also want you to know that there is a draft traffic policy coming forward to allow art crosswalks. It will have a few more restrictions that maybe we like, but we have gotten that launched. So that will be presented to you guys in February. It will, and also will probably be going to council in February. And if it passes, we can probably start an art crosswalk project. So very excited. I know. The bus shelter art, that is so long away that we really just don't have, any idea. We may ask to switch that out to wrap some of their utility cabinets instead, if it doesn't look like, anything's really going as far as that type of project. Because, it's funded and it's in our plan, and I'd like to do something sooner rather than later. We continue to work on the expanded, right-of-way committee. And as you know, Rebecca Sayers, Scott Overton, we're here with the Beaver Street pilot, for the downtown, for the curb and stamped concrete and new trees, and that's going to be a pilot program. They're going to be back with some specific examples to look at in February. And then they're going to actually build they're going to get back, feedback from you. They're going to get feedback from the DBA. And then they're going to kind of choose and make a prototype in one of the yards. And then we can all go view the yard before we put it into the street. So we, we'll have a prototype to work with. So that work, as always, is just, constantly important, and things come up. The flower and landscaping, as you know, we're going to replace we're going to make new planters for the Aspen Alley. They're going to be not quite as large and bulky as these. Are going to be probably about 2/3 the size, and then they're going to have a little paper. I'm working on putting procurement out for that, and we are also working on renewing the contract that will be going to council also probably on February 21st. So our flower project continues to grow. One of the other things that kind of came up, we were in a kind of a visioning session for the civic space for the Downtown Connection Center. And I think I sent you guys all a flyer. There's a public meeting on that this Thursday. And we talked about, with the new civic space, the flower program could grow and expand there too someday. And I told them, please, include that in your visioning. If you want the wine barrel, if you want something like this, something that can be moved around, so that if you have this event, we can move it over here. We would definitely be willing to partner and expand that program.
Janet, did we put aside any money for the civic space?
The civic space was first, included in the, call for the artist. Now, as we know, the sculpture is eventually going to go over to the civic space, but we also have money in a line item called Phoenix from the Phoenix Avenue, and we can draw from that line item for the civic space. So we already have something to draw from for any future ideas and enhancements that we could help, with. So again, 4th Street Roundabout has turned into Schweitzer Canyon Roundabout. We do kind of have something outlined. We have spoken with procurement, and we've spoken with capital projects. They can give us a capital project manager maybe to start work with in March. And we need to do some community outreach and focus group ideas first, because this is going to be a formal procurement, and therefore some of that feedback needs to be included in the call to the artists. So we're going to do that first, and then hopefully we're going to start working on the design of that project, which I expect to be about a year-long process in April of this year. And again, that will be Susan's project. Yay.
Fun one.
Because of all the work with, getting, new staff, and I have not been able to devote as much time to the Sawmill Multicultural Art and Nature Park, but this will be Kristen's project, and it's one of the first projects I'm going to have her work on when she starts. And I have had some ideas about whether for the first round of this, maybe we might want to do loans from museums instead of procuring original art. It's just an idea. But I'm hoping that we're going to really start working on that, get a call out or get, a solicitation for loan agreements out in May of this year. And so maybe we can get installation in next year. It's a little bit farther behind than I wanted it to be, but it's just been a very busy fall.
And that's the Liz Archuleta Park, right? The park that was renamed.
Yes, yes. And I have to put that new name in there. Thank you for the, there is sensitivity about that being renamed, because I know some of the Southside community is sensitive about it losing the sawmill reference, but and the multicultural park reference. The phone booth, we are working on a slightly bigger concrete, like walk up to the phone booth. And that is, we're also getting Loving Contracting. The scope of work is being finalized right now. We're going to start designing at the end of January. So right now, I think the phone booth's in pretty good shape. Susan went out to visit it.
Yes.
And so I think we'll be completing this in May. So we'll complete this one in this fiscal year. Lone Tree Overpass, well, you just approved the art concepts. We're gonna have to be buying form liners early. There's gonna be so many different phases to this project. They have to, do the railroad lowering first. They have, there's certain things that have to be done. And then there's like certain cement will go in at different times. So this will be going on for the next 3 years. And it's really hard to say, exactly when they're gonna need our money. So that's made it hard to budget. And we've also had very hard time getting a budget from the contractor. So when you start to see our budget, I put a lot of money in there, not knowing if it's all needed. But, anytime you're doing form liners on that expanse, you're going to be hitting $500,000 easy. Don't be shocked. And then I added the photography because in order to update our art map, we need to get photography on all of our new projects. We haven't had professional photography done, and I want to make it routine. So we need a big kickoff. We've been working with procurement on how to best do it. I think I have a way forward. We're going to have 3 different photographers who photograph 3 projects each. I would kind of want to get a bank of photographers because the fact that we can then start calling on and just, see how their work comes out, because certain people can shoot architecture, certain people can shoot landscape. And I don't think there's one kind of person that does public art best. And then Kristen will be working on this as well as the public art map update. We'll do that as soon as we get the photographs. So that's a little cart for the horse. And yeah, the Stark Trail, I think, the landscaping is still out to bid. Hasn't, and no, it hasn't gone out to bid for the Fanning landscape, but the monuments are proceeding and they're being built right now.
I actually got an update this morning, if you don't mind.
No, I do not mind, please.
I got an update this morning because I've been helping with this one because it's kind of fun to do sometimes my own.
Yes.
With Jana is they should be completed by February 16th, and so far everything's going very smoothly. So while there are bumps in many roads so far,
I know,
this one should be done mid-February.
There's
Yeah.
no concrete involved with this.
Just hold hold the rocks together. I don't know if anybody saw, there was this really great article, I think it was in the New York Sunday, magazine about how great Roman concrete was and that it's actually self-healing.
I did.
The mixtures that, did you see that?
I did.
That's cool.
I almost sent it to you. That's fine.
Oh, yeah.
We do that.
It's kind of that life of Rome. What did the Romans ever do? They invented concrete.
Self-healing.
Self-healing concrete. I felt like sending that article to a few people. Anyway. Yes, so again, the Southside City Park, this is that little park that's next to the Murdoch Center. I just got about 2 months ago, Mark Rivas is just, he cried uncle for all the other work that he's been doing on that regional plan. And he just has not been able to start this. So we're waiting kind of on him, but we're still going to be putting an art piece in that. But I don't know when. We completed the Southside Community Garden, yay. And as you know, we went ahead and decided to, in the retreat, go ahead and do another round. And in fact, you'll see in the budget, there's 2 more rounds this year, and next. And so we are going.
How are they holding up?
Great, better than expected. They're gonna have a.
Other than the lighting strikes.
Other
Right.
than the
Some are kind of a crash.
If they don't get struck by lightning, they're good. I'm seeing that, they're gonna be, I think getting them off is gonna, be more, work than it's worth. So we may let them all stay as long as they look good. I mean, yeah, I drove by the star goddess or the sun goddess again on Gemini. It just looks great. And and the courthouse, right, doing that audio tomorrow is the recording session. And
Playing with the equipment tonight.
yes. And so then an audio file will be created and we'll have a QR code on the plaque. And I think probably another month and that will be complete. So you notice we're saying complete more. This has been so kind of a fun update this time. So, except for the perfing of concrete. That part, I don't like.
So I haven't mentioned this to Jen, I don't think, but I will say, which is always a terrible thing to say as you start intruding into a commission meeting. The flowers project with our ideas about expansion and some of the other things, there is a flower competition. Municipalities are awarded against each other. And so far, I believe never has a Southwest community from a drier climate won. I don't think we're there yet, but that's sort of like a long-term dream is to be one of the first Southwest communities to win the American Bloom Award. And I think Jana's team with tax leadership and councils is the right one to get us there. So no pressure, Jana. But I'm kind of excited. Over time.
Yes. I see. I'm sitting here going, where do I fit that in?
No problem.
All right. So with that, then we'll kind of go into, and this is just, again, trying to give you this 5-year, and FY24 budget in little pieces and not to, overwhelm you, too much, but, you guys, when you approve it, you do approve this kind of 5-year plan. So I want to make sure that at least you understand the thinking and everything that goes into it. And so this here is, and I'm going to go ahead and get it a little bit bigger if I can. No, that doesn't work. Oh,
It's still this.
yes. Okay. Where did it go? I'm so used to touch screen now. was up there. All right, so what I tried to do is take all those prioritization we did and have it reflect as best it can in this document. One of the reasons it is hard to do is because we have certain projects that, are carryovers from previous years. And so right now, we don't do carryovers till April, so I can't put them in the out years or in the most appropriate year in this document yet. I hope to be able to do that. Generally, we've only just carried over to the next fiscal year. I'm going to actually try to get them in the fiscal year that we decided on in our prioritization so it can best reflect. That may not be possible with finance. We're still working on it and it's not due till April. So just so when you see City Hall lawn, that is kind of a high priority, but probably it's FY25, not FY24. And when I carry it over, I'm going to try to put it there. But it may not be. It may end up in FY24. I thought a couple projects that we didn't talk about in our retreat, and I wanted to tell you about. One was the downtown green. And this is, the fact that certain utility cabinets and everything in the historic downtown are all painted green. Well, they need to be repainted. This should not be a big project, but that's what that $200,000 in. It's been like coming up, and next year is probably the year to do it. We'll be working with the DBA. But that is why that's there, and it wasn't in your retreat. So I wanted to, let you know about that.
How many cabinets are there downtown?
I don't know. There's a lot. There's also aren't the lamp posts? All the light poles.
Everything is great.
The bike racks, everything is great. Yeah, the light poles cost more than utility.
That's just for the cabinets, 200,000.
Yeah, I know, that seemed like a lot, but when you put those lights, yeah.
I'm in the wrong.
I'm Right, and so, La Plaza Vieja Park, you see, I left that where it originally was. Stuff. So the Southside Green Space, this is kind of a catch-all, but this is possibly going to be used for some beautification for that park. What I did is I just, I added 14,000. That's what we spent on the Southside Community Garden. So I think since that was kind of a surprise and unexpected project, I'm just replenishing it because that wasn't originally supposed to come out of here. And so what I did is I replenished that amount. So you'll see the Phoenix Parking Plaza, that's our DCC. You see, I am adding $100,000 and then $25,000 in an out year. That $25,000 in an out year is to move that sculpture. Okay, so that's a placeholder to move the sculpture. $100,000 is because we are going to have to pay for that plaza around the sculpture in its temporary space. And here temporary means anywhere from 3 to 8 years. That's why we're laughing about temporary. Temporary means a lot of different things.
Yes.
We're not calling it temporary, we're calling it phased locations. That's right. So phased location number 1. Also, just with inflation, since this, the projects were first scoped, it's been 1.5 years. And as you know, the costs of materials and labor have just gone up tremendously. So I am adding money to that. And let's see. What else needed to be, highlighted? Oh, well, first of all, I wanted to go ahead and go down here. And some of these numbers are wrong because I've changed them. So I apologize for that. So the Rio de Flag, it's going to be $50,000 for this year. And then these amounts are all remaining, they're all up to 500,000. Okay, so I have changed that since I had a discussion with finance and we discussed about, well, what are you gonna really spend in this next fiscal year? And then we pushed the rest of the money out. The 4th Street roundabout locket, you know, again, we have this 150 carryover. We've discussed that these projects should all be about $250,000 in our retreat. So I'm adding it in the year that I think it's going, which is FY25. Traffic signal cabinets, again, we have some amount we're carrying over, added new money to FY24 and more new money to FY25. Lone Tree overpass, as you see, I've put in $500,000. It's a placeholder. I don't know. We don't have a cost estimate. I just don't want to underfund it because that would get us into more problems. And then there's 4 new, you know, some of the new projects that we have been discussing in both the retreat and in VPAC, the Butler Avenue improvements roundabout. Basically, I'm just putting a little placeholder in this upcoming fiscal year so that we could add the project. And then I'm trying to put out the major funding. So a roundabout, I'm thinking FY27. It's a guess. The Habitat for Humanity, really don't have a solid idea about what we can do there. But, and so that 50,000 is to me a placeholder, but it's in. The Lone Tree, the Claire Johnson brought to us, Pine Knoll to JWP. This is the permanent project, not the temporary ideas that we were doing. I put $100,000 into FY 27, I think it is. And basically I just put $100,000. That's when capital projects thinks that project will initiate. We'll wait till then to really get an idea of what it will really cost. And then the downtown mile underpasses. The downtown mile has a line item already to draw from, the north edge. I think that was above. I probably skipped over it. Can't stand that this is not. Yeah, the north edge, the Milton and Route 66. That's that big landscape pork chop area that we talked about. I can draw from this amount for that. So that's just to give you kind of an idea. And then I'm going to show you, because this is our beautification fund, which is where, you know, we put a lot of public art into. How do I get to the,
That's the.
no, there's another tab. I need to get to the actually original document and get to the second tab.
It's not coming up yet.
No, we had to get to sheet number 2 first. Okay, sheet 2. Thank you. There we go. Now that's right. Appreciate it.
My goodness, trying to find all these windows.
I know. And so then this is the Arts and Science Fund capital, much the same thing. I added Foots Trails sculpture as its own project. What I did for the common thread, since it really didn't, after talking with finance, it really had no shape because we really haven't decided what it will be. I added $50,000 for it out in FY27, both to show where it hit in the priorities and as well as, you know, I have it in the contingency for future projects. So it is not lost, it is there, but in that is where it is. So you can see that, as you know, since our Art and Science Fund has a lot less funding, if it can fit in beautification definition, I try to put those public art projects over there and keep this project pretty free, but, as some projects have money in both. For instance, the Indigenous Representation Project, the amount that's in the beautification is kind of what is maybe set up for the future cultural center and the Thorpe Park Annex, and then this is for the park here. So some projects again, and so does Rio de Flag, kind of, it lives in two spots too. So that's kind of my update. Do you have any, questions? This is a work in progress. Going to make a work plan out of our priorities for FY 25, eventually, and we'll have this, sheet more complete for you guys' approval. I think you guys usually approve in March, but I'll take a look at last year's calendar.
I had a question about that. The Flagstaff Art Council, or the Flagstaff Arts Festival is the Art X.
Yes.
Okay, and there was 50,000 the current year and 50,000 in the next
Right.
year?
Right,
Is that-
and the 50,000 this year is what you've approved.
Right.
I have not yet approved money for next year, but I needed to put that in there because to apply for the Bloomberg grant, they needed to see at least something, it still has to go through approval and it's not approved. But if I don't put it in there, then I can't spend it.
Right.
So it has to be available. Anything in the 5-year plan is available for spending. It still goes through our regular process to approve. But, to leverage that grant, they needed some commitment from the city to show that, that there was funding that to be leveraged. Now, if they get the grant, I will tell you, the pressure will be on to approve that $50,000.
What's that,
It'll be leveraged.
is that, what's the requirement? Is it a 50% match, or is it a 25% match, or is it a?
I don't
I
think
mean,
it,
if you
I
have
know, I don't know.
50,000 in the budget.
No, it doesn't have to have that. It has to have city commitment shown in various different ways.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
okay. So we're committed with $50,000, just sort of,
Awesome.
at least initial, okay, okay.
Right.
I have a question. Jenna, I realize that staff kind of conforms to the ideals of BPAC, and we really appreciate that. But from your perspective, how are we whittling the, the stuff that's simply placeholders that's not feasible? Are we whittling that away, or do we have more feasible projects from a staff's perspective?
Well, we added, a couple projects, that aren't really well shaped yet. And, like Habitat for Humanity is not really well shaped yet. Could that have waited, so that it didn't occupy a space? There's the balance. I knew it was an aspiration and I wanted to capture it in a 5-year document. But, it is adding kind of one of those things that we're not 100% sure is going. So we did whittle. I took a couple off. One that I took off, I think I grayed them out in the sheet that I sent you. One was that actually BNSF Railroad on Milton Underpass. First of all, it's kind of, has been there for years. And I know it was an idea that came out of BPAC, but we now know that BNSF will probably be so restrictive from the, information that we got on the downtown mile. It didn't have any funding. It didn't have a year. So I took that out.
I have been meaning to tell you that I called around
Mhm.
to see if there was any other city that has worked with BNSF on.
Mhm.
I talked to the folks at Strong Towns,
Mhm.
and are you familiar with the Strong Town folks? And they had some encouraging strategies for how we might approach BNSF on this. So it's still, anyway, I mean
Right.
to pass that information on to you.
I know we can use it, and I would especially pass it up to Jason Carflati, since they are the main consultant that's now working on the Downtown Mile project. Also, that project, again, has almost been wrapped up into the Downtown Mile now. And so we just might want to be strategic about where we want to actually land on that project. So I cleaned up, I was able to clean up a few things, but I do feel like I almost replaced them with a couple. So I think we're getting there.
Do you feel comfortable with it, or is it still a little bit frustrating? I know that when I first started BPAC, probably we had like, I don't know if you call them deliverables or things that are obtainable, probably like 10% on the
Right.
budget. Are we at like 50% of things that are actually going to happen now, or how does the staff feel?
I feel like, you know, a lot of projects are so far out. I mean, they're there. But I feel like our work plan is our grounding document now. And so, you know, this year was the first year that we had this work plan. This was our FY24 work plan. And we're gonna create an FY25 work plan. I kind of do feel the future is it moves. And I'm not as focused on if things are in there. They're good reminders. But to me, I feel like the practical part is that we get a work plan that we can achieve. And it's starting to feel good. Like I was able to say, we're gonna complete that, we're gonna complete that. So I feel like if we complete a majority of our work plan every year, I won't, as staff, feel frustrated. Yeah,
That's good.
and I hope BPAC focuses on that work plan, because we can only do so much in any given year.
True.
It really is you know, that one in the next year is kind of really a strong, you know, vision outlook.
I think we're definitely learning together. And with the process that staff brought forth this year, I think was something that BPAC was kind of pushing toward without knowing what the process was looking like. And while it was a little bit uncomfortable at times because everything that's new is, I was really impressed by it. I think that it should shore up some of those shortcomings in the long run. You guys did a great job.
Yeah, I think that the budget process is so long that to avoid those things that are nebulous, we really do need to decide on new project ideas in the summer. And I'll try to focus the BPAC earlier, because by the time we get to the October retreat, honestly, to come up with the new ideas in that setting is, it's too late. Those, I can't get enough information to get things into the budget properly. They don't get the kind of consideration they need, because so many need other departments. And if those departments aren't going, we shouldn't really be putting them in.
Right.
Or if they're not interested in partnering with us, you know, they have to have staff capacity. Sometimes it's not interest, it's just feasibility. So we really do need to do that. And I think I asked for new ideas in August and September. Gonna probably bump that up, you know, and say, hey, there's gonna be, you know, there's enough new projects that just kind of emerge that we have to handle, that, you know, planned new project ideas. I think that we really need to put those forth as a group in the summertime. So I'll move that up.
Hearing that as like it just reminds me that every year when we have this discussion, like there's a constant evolution brought by staff and an understanding by BPAC. We're constantly moving, and I love that.
I want to just say, again, I'm just so impressed that some of these really big projects are coming to completion. And
Yes.
they are ones that I think are just going to be milestones for the community as a whole. The airport project, the downtown transit, the library. Those are massive projects. The courthouse was a big one. Yeah. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. All right. So that is the end of my presentation. Anybody has any specific project question, please email me. You know, I know there's a lot of numbers here. And if there's something that's, you know, bothering you about a specific project, just email me and I'll get it answered for you.
Thank you. Folks on the call, any questions or comments?
Nothing from me.
One comment is that I like the joy with which Jana says this is going to be Susan's project.
Beautification is a wonderful thing.
That's awesome.
And I'm happy to be here to help.
It's
for
fun.
sharing that. So moving forward to the to from items, city staff.
Yeah.
Nothing. I don't have anything either. Vice Mayor Sweet?
First off, I'm no longer vice mayor,
Oh, right,
The new
right,
election.
right.
as much as I would love to still have that. I do want to echo, it's, being on city council, it's a slow process. And it is so exciting to see things checked off and things moving forward. And this group is just fantastic. I really do enjoy coming to the meetings and hearing all of the updates. I will be at the DCC meeting Thursday, the revisioning. I will be there. I'm excited for that. I would encourage everyone to show.
I'm planning to be there too.
Excellent.
What time is the meeting, Miranda?
I believe, is it 5:30?
5:30 to 7.
It's at the Murdoch Center.
I hope so. And that's
Do
all.
they
I
have
have.
food?
Yes, I'll bring you back
Any additional comments from the commission? Hearing none, request for future agenda items.
I had a couple of things I wanted to bring up. I'm not exactly sure if we needed to do it as an agenda item or whatever, but I'm not sure what the travel budget is for this year, if anybody's already taken up that travel budget, but if they haven't, I think we should have a discussion as soon as possible to see who's gonna go where and why, as far as the BPAC is concerned. I think it should mirror or tether with, travel plans that staff has for either local, regional, or national conventions. I put myself through one of those. I think I did AFTA in 2018, and it was pretty beneficial to understanding the process of what other communities are doing and how it's getting done. Now, it doesn't have to, we could just have that discussion on an agenda item, I guess. So.
I will be happy to bring that back as an agenda item. I will tell you, AFTA is, they haven't posted a conference yet for this year.
Yeah, I
And,
realize that too.
I don't know that they're going to have one.
They may not, but.
Because they've been in, as you know, as I told you last year, it was kind of a surprise. They're a big transition and they're still finding their legs. But I know we found an international one in Poland, but we're going to be attended virtually.
Real.
I was like, okay. When it was pointed out that it doesn't really cost any more to fly to Europe than it does to New York right now because of how strong the dollar was, we started to, well.
I like.
But unfortunately, it's not in this fiscal year, it's in the next one, so.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Like bringing this up at this time of year, I think is important for us to kind of get on a schedule for these type of things. That way the BPAC and its members can have those opportunities when they are presented and that they can coalesce or not coalesce with staff's plans for the summertime fun shenanigans. Okay, also, what do I have for, I don't know if this needs to be a discussion item or like a future agenda item or anything like that, but I can tell, like, I don't think it's, what is like, they had the quantifiable, what's the other one?
Qualitative.
Yeah, like, I don't know, I'm pretty sure this is more of a qualitative, I don't think you can really quantify it, but I don't know, maybe a discussion about, and I'm pretty sure like legs cross me here right now, so let's just say it. Just, no, about having our meetings in council chambers. There's a dynamic that is, it's different. There's a different dynamic in this room. And, some, I think something worth talking about at least. That's it.
So different meeting location is what you're talking about?
Yeah, the council chambers every once in a while. Back when we used to do it in there, it felt a little different work got done, I felt like.
I know it was since the summer, we decided to go to back, to hybrid. And I can't remember, I don't think this was part of that discussion, but maybe it was. I'd have to go back and look at the minutes. But I think it's certainly,
When I joined, they've always been remote. So I've never,
I only attended, I think, one in council chambers, the very first one. Everything. Yes, I think we were, the very last group to meet.
I think we can check with the clerk's office. There might be another commission meeting there, which is maybe why we're in this room. I don't recall.
Oh, cool.
Or if it was the technology was different here. We can see if that's opportunity.
Yeah.
And I mean, would that be?
I will put that on the next time we have, so first of all, I guess you need two commissioners to first say whether they want to have these two discussions. But if so, that one might, because February's already filling out, that might be just a little bit down the line.
That's not really. I agree, those are good agenda items. Well, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
I'm happy to see them on the agenda too.
Thank you.
And I have another topic to explore. I'm not sure if this should go on the agenda, but, and that's whether we should begin, whether BPAC should have a conversation about any kind of advocacy work we want to maybe consider around the BBB tax renewal. Whether that's an issue that we should be trying to get ahead of and figure out if we have a role to play in that.
Sure.
I'm gonna ask just a clarification on how that, when that is needed, and then,
So of course, as staff, we just educate. We don't ever advocate or strategize around advocacy probably, but
We do.
oh, you guys probably do. We can certainly work with the PIO to understand like where, and the clerk's office to know sort of, as individuals, they say that the 6 to 8 months just prior to the election are the most effective time to get the words out because people are gonna respond the most. But anytime that you can help us educate the public about all the wonderful things that you're helping lead and make sure people get it, that only happens because there's a BBB tax, which then turns into programming through nonprofits and through the wonderful projects that happen here. I think that's super helpful. We can get a little more information about from the clerk, because to be honest, I don't know exactly how the rules work on a commission that's appointed.
yes.
I know as individuals, you guys can do what you like, but formally as an agenda item, I think I'd probably want to talk to a couple of people who know the rules better than me, if you don't mind.
Yes, I was hoping you would
Well, it
know the
could
rules better
be-
than I, but I think.
And maybe we should reframe it as just a discussion about making the public aware of the work of of the commission and where their tax money is going.
yeah, a timeline would be helpful too, though. I mean, I wonder if that could just be in an email. Here's the timeline up to the vote.
Well, we can also do an update. We're working on a new logo and things like that, which will hopefully be released before too long, and we can bring that as an update and talk about all these pieces in there as well, maybe. So.
Right, we are gonna have a logo for everyone to use. So, yeah, I think this is, it may be just a little premature because, the package is still coming together from the BBB committee. But I think in general, we do put out on all our flags that things, this project is funded by, BBB funds.
Yeah, I just think it might be worth a conversation among all of us to say, what's our role? in,
Yeah, and then you guys could also figure out those pieces that you're not sure of. You can
Yeah.
bring those to us during that discussion.
That's what I'm thinking, is we
You'll-
can learn.
Yeah, learn together.
Appreciate that. And yeah, and actually, I think it's great for, like, even 2024 is actually not that far away.
No, it's not.
So getting some
Planning campaign.
idea of how the planning would work course, we'll be doing a lot of educating as well, but yeah, in terms of accuracy and what you guys are able to do. How that'd be great for us to understand and for you to understand.
I don't support the idea.
I'll support it too. Anything else, folks? Our next meeting is Monday, the 13th at 4 PM here and hybrid, and I will adjourn the meeting at 5:26. Thank you for coming.
Super fantastic.
Yeah, let you guys out early this time. Unusual.